culture is the different experiences that the team members have that show them what's important in order for them to get what they want. For example, me as a team member, I join a company because I'm looking for certain things. Obviously, I'm looking for compensation, unless I'm doing it for free, but I'm looking for compensation. I'm looking for challenge. If I want to be able to get on that certain project or I want to be able to take that certain position, I'm going to be looking to say, okay, what are the different behaviors and results? What do they value so that I can get that additional bonus, that additional compensation, that additional challenge? And the reverse is also true. What are the behaviors or the different experiences that I get as a team member that tell me, oh, you know what? That's not tolerated here. Oh, that's not acceptable here. So that's the culture. It's the identity. It's how things are done around here. So think about it. If you're in a meeting and someone speaks up, and let's say they disagree in the meeting, what happens? Do you allow it? Do you not allow it? Is it okay? Is it not okay? What about if a team member isn't carrying their weight? Every organization has some that are hungry and they're challenging it and they're driving. And you have others that are kind of coasting. So for those coasters, what does your organization do? Do you tolerate it? Do the peers tolerate it? Do you wait for the leader, whoever that is, to be able to take action? What about behaviors? What are the ones that get recognized and rewarded? And not just what behaviors, but how? Is it through compensation? Is it saying a job well done and a thank you? How do they go about that? And then what behaviors are discouraged and how? All of these different experiences create your culture. A lot of you are doing strategy to execution, and the culture is pretty well defined because you're seeing it, you're building it. Within a short amount of time, you're going to be including many more people, and they're going to come with their own cultures from their prior companies. Maybe they have different countries, so you have a country culture piece to it, or a personal values culture, or a family culture. And if you don't define and align the culture that you want, what will happen is mass confusion. Because you have leaders that are going to be making decisions based off what they think is the right way to do it, what behaviors are tolerated and not. And it may or may not be aligned with the direction that you're all trying to go. So the first step is to really define what culture do we want. Now, the simple way that I think about that is what do you say, stand, and hands? What do I mean by say, stand, and hands? Say is, think of it as what are the words that you use? What are the stories that you tell? Then the second is stand. So you talked about what's important. You talked about the behaviors you want. The stand is what stand do you take to actually turn those words into actions? How do you hold people accountable? How do you have different consequences? And also think of stand of where do you place your feet? Meaning where do you spend your time? What are you focusing on? What are you tracking? What are you looking at? And then finally, hands. Meaning what are you doing with your behaviors? What actions do you take? So anytime that I talk to an organization about their culture, I say, okay, what do you talk about? What do you say? Where do you stand? What are the different accountability measures there? And what do you do with your hands? What are the actions that you take? Let me give you an example. When I started doing this work, it's one thing to help leaders at work. I get a lot of fulfillment from that. But I wanted so much more than that. So I want to help leaders from the boardroom to the family room. And that's for myself too. The same proven principles apply everywhere. So I'm going to give you an example of the culture I'm trying to create as a deliberate dad in my own home. So what do I say? One of the aspects of our culture is we tell the kids it's important to keep a house of order. Everything in its place. We want to keep it clean. Now, I have 4 kids. There's Cheerios and stickers and you name it. So it's not going to be perfect. But generally speaking, we want a house of order. And so some of the beliefs, a good leader will help people think differently, to form different beliefs of the experiences that they want. Things like we value work, everyone contributes. So when it comes to where do we stand, how do we take this from words into action, is we hold them accountable. So what do my kids really want? Do they come home from school and say, Dad, I would love to do the dishes. Will you please let me take out the trash today? I know I have games with my friends, but it would mean the world to me if I could just take out the trash, please. No, it's not naturally pleasurable to do some of the different chores. But what do they want? Remember, culture is giving the experiences to help people get what they want. They want screen time. They want to be able to watch TV. They want to be able to play video games. So we have a accountability chart that says, here's the different tasks that you have. And once those are done, only then can you use your screens. Now, I no longer have to hound them to say, did you do your chores? They do it because they know they get no screen time if they don't. When it comes to hands, I actually had a misstep. I had a week where it was extremely busy, and I know it's a lame excuse, but it's true. I was working from 6 a.m. to like 1 or 2 in the morning, and I was so exhausted at 9 or 10 p.m. that when I needed to take a quick break, I didn't want to go take my break and go do chores. I wanted to go watch a quick football game or watch something else. So my kids realized that for several days in a row, Dad wasn't doing his chores. Now, we had a misalignment in our culture. I wasn't role modeling it. I couldn't lead them because I wasn't giving them an example that they would want to follow. If I didn't change, they would then look at this and say, okay, we're not going to do it either. And over time, you now lose that credibility as a leader. So the good news is another part of our culture is it's okay to admit mistakes and say, I'm sorry. And so I was able to do that to them. And then we had a fresh start. Notice you're constantly trying to say, stand, and are you keeping them all in alignment?